Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Monday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and not a lot of activity over the weekend outside of some trade rumors about the two high-profile free agents that are still available, and I want to talk a little bit about them. The fact that they're not coming to the Mets, the fact that the Mets aren't looking at them, and I want to talk about why that's, in my opinion at least, not the worst thing in the whole world. So over the weekend, Bob Nightingale of USA Today all but guarantees that Machado goes to the Phillies. That was his promise. And then I think that makes the logical landing spot for Bryce Harper going back to the Nationals. And none of this is, of course, confirmed. The White Sox are still very much in play. They have made, from the last I saw, an 8-year offer to Manny Machado. I think they've also made a similar offer to Bryce Harper. As an aside, wouldn't it be amazing if the White Sox somehow managed to nab both of them this offseason? Wouldn't that be just incredible? They would go from playing in basically one market against each other, not directly, but you know what I mean, not on the same team, to one market on the same team. That would just be kind of cool. But I digress. If things transpire the way Bob Nightingale suspects they will, that means that both Machado and Harper are in the NL East, and so what? I can't freak out about it. I really can't, because look, Bryce Harper's been on the Nationals his whole career. In the National League East against the Mets, we face him 18 times a year, every year, and he's not. I don't know. He's not Mike Trout. He's not Barry Bonds. He has been handled for the most part by the Mets, and he's one player. And look, if the Nationals are going to commit that much money to him after overspending on Patrick Corbin, good for them. I mean, I don't know what to tell them. Bryce Harper's presence in the Nationals clubhouse and in the Nationals lineup has won them a grand total of 0 playoff games. So I can't understand the outrage about bringing in this winning player when dude hasn't won jack shit. Yeah, he won an MVP in 2015. Okay, that was his only really stellar season. He's coming off a season last year where he batted .240 something. That's not 10-year, $300 million contract material. I'm sorry, it's just not. So that's the Harper end of it. And the Machado end is that I've never been a big Manny Machado guy, and I don't care where he goes. I personally, I think Manny Machado going to the Phillies is a nightmare for the Phillies, because I'm not trying to stereotype. I'm not trying to defame this person or whatever, but Manny Machado is the kind of player, in my opinion, that will get his money and sort of turn into a Cespedes. And what I mean by that is just sort of sit back, go at 80%. When you really need to, bump it to 85. I mean, Machado's already said that. Like, look, dude, I hustle when I know I need to. And it ain't all the time. And I'm sorry, but that is not 10-year, $300 million contract worthy attitude. And I can't see that attitude getting better as he's getting more money. Now, yes, you could argue, look, he's going to get older, he's going to mature, he's going to realize the error in his ways. Maybe he will. But why the hell should he? He's going to be making that money guaranteed. The bottom line for me is that I don't think any player is worth 10 years. I've said that a million times. I think the only player that I would make an exception on is Mike Trout, because he is a legitimate once-in-a-generation talent. Because he does everything. And you show me 1 year in the last 5 where he has not been in the top 3 in the MVP in the American League. You can't. He's hands down the best player in baseball, and he's the only player in baseball that should even get a discussion of 10 years in a contract and $300 million in a contract. No one else deserves that. Sorry. Back to the Mets. So the conversation about Machado and Harper being swallowed up by NL East competitors in the Phillies and the Nats has opened up or reopened up discussions about what the Mets should do if that happens. And look, I'm of the belief that the Mets have had a really good offseason. I think Brody's done exactly what he said he was going to do when he came in here. He has taken a lot of people by surprise with some of the moves he's announced. And I think he's turned things in the right direction. Do I think he's finished? I don't. I think he still intends on adding more pieces no matter what happens with the Phillies or the Nationals and with Harper and Machado. But the question that seems to be floating on Twitter is, well, if the Nats and the Phils do make these deals and do bring in these two powerhouse players, will Brody be reactive to that, and will he change his strategy? In other words, will it make him go after A.J. Pollock? And my God, I hope the answer is no, because A.J. Pollock does not do anything for me personally. He doesn't deserve the money that he's asking for. He's had one good, again, like Harper, he's had one good season. In his case, he was injured. But what are you going to do bringing a guy in who is injury prone and is a center fielder when you have an injury prone center fielder already on your roster? That's number one for me. Number two, and I think the more realistic and sort of down-to-earth approach to it is not so much would I bring this person in or should the Mets bring this person in, but would this person really want to sign with the Mets? And here's why. Pollock is a center fielder. He wants guaranteed playing time. And I don't mean like he wants to play even if he's batting .042. What I'm saying is, he wants to be told, you're the starting center fielder, the job is yours, you're here for the whole season. Don't screw it up, basically. And the reality of the situation with the Mets, although they are not counting on Yoenis Cespedes to give them anything this season, he is coming back. And he is under contract for this season and next. So if Yoenis Cespedes comes back, let's just say August 1st this year, all right? August 1st. That's 2 full months of baseball where Cespedes is going to be in left field, maybe at first base every once in a while, whatever. But at that point, what are you asking this center fielder to do? Is he going to stay out there every day? And then you're going to have to bench one of Conforto or Nimmo? And again, assuming that all three of these people, whoever the center fielder might be, plus Nimmo, plus Conforto, it's assuming that all of them play the way that we think they're able to play. If they're having a good first half, they don't deserve to be benched in the second half. And that's why I feel like A.J. Pollock and the Mets are not a great fit. Not so much from the Mets' perspective. Injury history aside, Pollock would be a great center fielder. Injury history aside, he'd be a great center fielder. But he personally, I don't believe, fits with the Mets, because they cannot guarantee that beyond August 1st-ish, he'll be in the lineup every day. And that's what he's going to want. That's what he's going to want. So I don't think Pollock is the answer. I do, however, think it is possible for the Mets to bring in some insurance in the form of a guy like Nick Markakis. I'm big on Nick Markakis for a couple of reasons. The main one being that he's a veteran and he'll accept a role as a role player on a team like the Mets. And I'm not saying that he's the ideal fit, because he's of course not a center fielder. That means you're going to be starting the season with Conforto or Nimmo getting a bulk of the playing time in center field. But again, that's I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, because you have Lagares and you have Broxton on the bench who can come in for late inning defense. Bringing in Markakis, or Adam Jones for that matter, who's not a center fielder at this point in his career, but bringing in one of those veteran guys and making sure that they understand their role when they're brought in, I think is the best approach to this. Not going out and trying to make the big splash with A.J. Pollock, who's going to get hurt in April. But going out and getting a guy who not only can fill in a need for the first half of the season and beyond, but can also adjust to a bench role. And that's why I keep going back to Nick Markakis, because I just think he's a pure hitter, and he'd be a great addition to the Mets bench down the stretch. You could almost look at him sort of like the way the Mets looked at Juan Uribe and Kelly Johnson in 2015 when they brought those two guys in around the deadline. That changed the lineup dramatically because it added so much depth on the bench. And that's what I feel like a guy like Markakis could do downstream in the season after Cespedes returns and after he readjusts to a new role. Again, that's just my opinion on it, and I encourage you to tell me that I'm wrong, because I know a lot of you think I am. So if you think I'm wrong, tell me why. Tell me why, either in the comments below or on Twitter. You can follow me there at Mr_Met. So that'll wrap it up for today. I appreciate you watching. I'll be back sometime this week when there's some news to share. Until then, have a great day. And as always, let's go Mets.